Hello, Ravens. Welcome back to another edition of Tarot Tuesday. Today is the 14th of January, and since we didn't do one last week, this is the first official Tarot Tuesday of 2020. Before we get started, I do want to remind y'all that Patreon is open for subscriptions. The tiers have recently been edited to reflect some changes that I've made to it, so if you haven't been on Patreon in a while, go check it out, see what's new, see what's different. Couple things have moved over to that now that we're in the new year. For starters, the Night Sky newsletter, if you're not already subscribed, is now Patreon exclusive unless you were already in. So, you will have to subscribe at least the $1 tier for Patreon in order to get the Night Sky newsletter. There are also, like I said, a few other changes that you should go check out. I think it's worth your time. Plus, subscribers at any tier get content that you won't see anywhere else. And early access to some things, like with the video about the Grand Conjunction, which went live for the public on Sunday. But in the meantime, speaking of the Grand Conjunction, since those energies are still playing out, I don't really want to focus on aspects with this Tarot Tuesday so much as movements. And the first one actually happened yesterday on Monday. Mercury, the magician, has moved into Aquarius, the sign of the star. And again, so this is the beginning of a few week period, because Mercury will get all the way through Aquarius before the next retrograde cycle, where we will be... The star is the card of omens. Of portents for the future, ill or otherwise, and so when we're dealing with Mercury, the magician, and the star together, what we're dealing with is sort of a kind of a make your own omens sort of thing. Make stuff happen and then continue to make it happen. Be your own luck. Very much a thing of where the ball is in your court as to what the future holds, what lies ahead. Definitely a feeling of taking the reins and taking charge for yourself. Aquarius is one of those energies that's just it's got an independent streak, and Mercury plays along nicely with that because Mercury does too. So again, this is going to be a period where, again, you kind of make your own omens, make your own destiny. Chart your own course. It's not about letting fate determine for you what will happen to you, but about determining for fate what is going to happen to you. And then on Thursday, we have another movement. I'm sorry, I had those backwards. This is the upcoming one. Mercury moving into Aquarius will be Thursday. I messed that up. I apologize. Yesterday was this one, where Venus, the Empress, moves into Pisces, which is the moon. And we talked a little bit about this with before, when the card for Pisces, the moon, comes up, things being in phase, things being in change, things being in warp. And then Venus, of course, is the Empress, which is typically thought of as the more feminine aspects of being creative. So a lot of specifically though, it's the flourishing of something, but it's moving into a new phase. With Venus and Pisces, it may move through several phases with Venus and Pisces. Remember that the moon as a card, the tarot card rather than the card represented by the moon, which is the High Priestess. The moon is all about the phases and changes of appearance that the moon goes through. And so this is going to be a period where a lot of different creative things that are going on for you start to move through various phases of their existence. You're going to see some things that were moving along stagnate, other things that were stagnant begin to take motion. But it's Venus, which is a benefactor. So all of this will be to the good. We are, coming off of the eclipse and the grand conjunction. So we're already in this period where we're shedding a lot of things that no longer serve or aren't really working. This is going to be another one of those things that helps do that, but it's going to be specifically for our creative processes, the things we're trying to bring into being. Those which serve will accelerate, those which do not will slow down. They're sort of illuminating themselves for you in the wake of the conjunction, and will continue to do so for the next several weeks, as Venus will spend quite a bit of time in the mutable water sign. Yeah. So again, like I say, very much a chance to sort of not only feel the energy of Saturn conjunct Pluto around you that we talked about in the last video, but also to sort of take hold of it for yourself, which is a very, very good thing. More power is always better than less when it comes to astrological aspects, though of course the power is always in your hands. However, more effectively so at this time than it might be otherwise. So, let me go ahead and grab our cards. We'll talk a little bit about getting started on all this for you. It also, this is my Necronomicon tarot. So this may take the form of things that would serve as impediments or blocks, things that internally might be holding you back from doing what you need to do with this energy. But since we're already dealing with a great purge, it might be time to let lots more daylight into the shadow than we might normally do. Although, going back over my last few videos, I do notice my proclivity for poking the bear. However, this time, everyone's getting it, so get ready. So we'll begin with Capricorn Sun. Remember in the last video it was rising signs. We're doing sun signs for this one. Same as we usually do for Tarot Tuesday. So, Capricorn Sun. You also get the Empress. Now, in and of itself, probably a good thing. A lot of the energy of all these are energies that are leaving Capricorn. They're leaving your sign, your sun sign. It is leaving behind the bulk of the planetary stuff. The Sun, Jupiter, Saturn, and Pluto are all still here. And Venus, which is the card, which is represented by the Empress in the tarot, rules your Earth sister sign of Taurus. So this is really favorable energy for you. I get the feeling that for you this is more of a, there will be more that takes off Capricorn than that needs to be shed. If you want to liken it to what humanity's been able to do for space travel so far, this is your stage 2 rocket, so to speak. Very good thing. Should be very good for you. Lots of growth potential. But that does also mean you need to have the discerning eye, Capricorn, for what is growing and what is not. And be willing to weed the garden. For Aquarius, how appropriate. We have the Magician, which is in Mercury moving into your sign. So, at this point, the energy of Mercury is behind you. The thinker, the communicator. This is in your wheelhouse. It is energy with which you are very, very intimately familiar and comfortable. This is a good thing. However, just because you have all the power to instigate change does not mean you need to make change for change's sake. So do be careful of that. This is going to inflame those rebellious tendencies that you have. And you don't necessarily need or want to do that, Aquarius. So be mindful of where you're doing something because it needs doing and where you're doing something for the sake of doing it, because they are two different things and one of them is worse. For Pisces, we have the Queen of Wands. You will want, I think, Pisces Suns, to adopt something of your sibling sign Cancer's crab-like trait of wanting to sort of withdraw to a safe shell. Because I'm getting sort of, from this, I'm getting kind of the opposite feeling that I got for Capricorn, where a lot of things are taking off for them. You're going to be shedding a lot of things. A lot of things are going to be falling away from you. And that is going to make you feel threatened and vulnerable. And it's okay to retreat to those things that are working. In fact, you should, rather than, falling into despondence over the loss of things which you were attached to but aren't serving. This is a time for you to retreat to the effective rather, but again, the effective, not just the familiar and comfortable, but the effective, because it might also be that the familiar and comfortable is what's falling away from you here. And so what you'll want to do then is retreat to what works instead of what's safe. That's not to say that they can't be synonymous. It's just, it tends not to be very likely when we go through growth periods like we're currently facing. Aries Sun, the Seven of Wands. There is a struggle here for you, Aries. One which, let it be said, that you are more than capable of not only handling, but being the victor. But sort of going along with that notion, it's about where you have the high ground. That's the thing. It's about where you have power is where you should be fighting. The struggle to make things, and again, this is just, it's almost the same advice I just gave Pisces. Maybe it's the Wands connection. The struggle to make things work that won't is futile in the wake of all of the energy that we've got going on this week. So where something is working, find where things are working, devote your energy there, because that is the battle that you can win. That is the place where you have the high ground. Gonna borrow from pop culture here again. It's a lot easier for you for this week, Aries, to be Obi-Wan than to be Anakin. You go where the high ground is. For Taurus, we have the Nine of Pentacles. I feel like I've been getting this card a lot for you, Taurus. But I really, especially with this deck, I really like the imagery that we get here with this. Hang on a second, it's kind of out of focus. There we go. Of leaving. Like, it even looks like she's being backlit by some large fire. You kind of see that? Like, as though she's walking away from the things that weren't working towards all that is to be offered by what will. And by what already has been, moreover, because the structure is already built. The grand gleaming citadel that lies ahead in the image, in this Nine of Pentacles image, is already there. The reward is already to be reaped because the work has already been done. Apologies. Letting go and walking away is sometimes the best thing to do, especially in a case where it's never going to be easier, Taurus. So if it's not working, let it go. You have already built what you are approaching. For Gemini, we have the Devil. It's funny, in a recent post on Facebook, I talked about how it was a daily draw, the ones I post on Facebook and Instagram, where the Lovers was the card, and we were bringing a little bit of Gemini to Capricorn. This is the opposite. Capricorn is bringing itself to you, Gemini, because Capricorn is represented in the tarot by the Devil. What's interesting and a little bit unique for you, Gemini, not Capricorn, Gemini, about getting this card is that you, more than anybody else, at least for the next week or so, are dealing with the places where you're chained down. These don't have to necessarily be places in the literal sense. It just, locations in your life, however that's relevant for you. But it is, again, as I said in the last video, we're talking a lot about breaking chains, breaking away from things that hold us down. It is the things that you need to cast aside, Gemini, that are holding you back. And it may even be that they're holding you down. You might even be buried under them. I get the feeling that this is one where we can take that notion sort of to the nth degree. For you, this problem is the problem of getting out from under the things that no longer serve is now paramount, and the energy for the week is here to help you get through it. But it is a lot. It's there might be 50 feet of crap between you and where you need to be, and you're just gonna have to get your shovel and dig. For Cancer, we have the Three of Swords, the card of grief and of loss and of sadness. And so we talked a little bit ago with Pisces about the tendency that Cancerians often have to sort of armor and shelter themselves from things that hurt. And you must not do this. It is time to let yourself grieve, let yourself mourn, let yourself be sad for the things that you need to leave behind, but let them go. Cut them loose. Perhaps literally. Cut them loose. For Leo, we have the Ace of Pentacles. A card of material nascence and instantiation, beginnings. I think, yes, with this card, what I'm getting for you, Leo, is that the way the Empress and the Moon, Venus and Pisces, manifest together for you is that this is less about a time of cultivating things that have begun to sprout and sowing the first seeds of something that will grow later. For you, this is more of a clean cut or clear cut beginning than it is for maybe the rest of the zodiac, if you're a Leo sun. Again, whether this is it's something material, it might be that you apply for a new job, or maybe to move to a different part of your current place than you've been working. You have something new in that way. Maybe it's a new house. Maybe it's a new something. But something to do with your material world. You're going to be You're going to be planting the seeds and setting the stage for something new to begin as a result of this week, rather than using this week to pick the weeds out from between the places where this stuff is already sprouted. You're planting a new garden, not tending an old one. For Virgo, the Fool. Now, in the astrology tarot, the Fool is Uranus, the ruler of Aquarius. So, again, bringing home that magician energy for you as well, but in a different sort of way. This is also a card of new beginnings, but this is a card of... naivety is one way to put it, but that's not the energy I'm getting here. More just straightforward inexperience is your bag this time, Virgo. Whatever it is that you are starting, this is the first time you've ever tried to do whatever it is. In that sense, you are casting aside a lot of things that are old. Forsaking all the stuff that you know to do something new, which is super Aquarian energy. So leaning on, the power of Mercury to get you thinking and get you communicating, is probably a good thing to be doing here. And, lest I forget, Mercury also classically rules your sign as well as Gemini. So, lean on your ruler and the energy of the sign that it's moving into, which you've got a lot of this is synergizing for you this week, Virgo, and boldly pursue the new as a means to leave behind the old. For Libra, the Ten of Swords, the card of endings and of finality. Again, whatever you are letting go of, Libra, you are letting go of for good. Someone else got the Ten of Swords in the last video. I don't recall who it was. But this week, whatever you let go of is gone for good. So, this is a good thing, but you need to be sure that the things you're casting aside need to be cast aside. You're as an air sign, you tend to be rational, and as the scales, you tend to be even-handed and judicial. Those traits will serve you admirably in this regard, but you must lean on them. You need to be more like a Libra rather than less. So again, lean on that careful, metrical decision-making process that is already endemic to you, to decide what needs to be cast aside or let go of. Scorpio has the High Priestess. We are bringing the internal or the external to the internal here. Take today and tomorrow, because it's already too late to do more than you've naturally done with Monday at this point, unfortunately. But take today and tomorrow to really meditate on the aspects of self, Scorpio, that no longer serve. You're taking that energy and focusing it into yourself. You're making yourself a prism for the energies of the eclipse, the grand conjunction, the moves of Mercury and Venus. you need to reflect refract, and allow to shine through you as clearly as possible this energy, this light, and let it illuminate for you what no longer needs to be there. And then let it go. But again, I would definitely take a couple of days to really take as much time as you can in the next couple of days to sit with yourself and just, am I too this? Am I not enough that? Shadow work. You need to sit for the next couple of days and get started on shadow work. And finally, Sagittarius. Speaking of Gemini, the Lovers. A third figure on that windswept moor there in the back in the orange dress. Do you see her? That seems relevant. I think this might be you, Sagittarius. It may not have to do with a partner, a romantic interest, or even another person. But Sagittarius, there is something that you were tied to that you are looking back on with rose-colored glasses. Notice the difference between everything else in the image and the solitary figure. The solitary figure is the only one in color, and it is kind of a pinkish hue. You are looking back on what you think of, Sagittarius, as freedom through nostalgic, but more directly, this would be where I would say naivety has entered the picture. Looking back on something that felt like freedom compared to your current situation that was not, is not, was not that, and is not that. It isn't freedom. It just seems that way. It seems to me that you have to do this backwards to the rest of us, Sagittarius, in that you are reconciling yourself to what is easy and no longer serves, and what is difficult but does. You need to find a way to reconcile these things. So, that is Tarot Tuesday for this week. I hope that you enjoyed it. If you did, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And, as always, I will see you next week.